Hello! Today we are going to build a side cartridge for the Atari ST. And I have one on the desk here. This is my 520 ST, which was gifted to me by my friend Klaus, who used this back in the day. And I have to clean this at some point. It has a mouse and a power supply. And since it's a 520 ST, so this is the standard machine, doesn't have a disk drive. And without a disk drive, this machine is pretty much useless because, let me show you. So this is what this machine boots to, which is a Gem desktop. And yeah, you can do pretty much nothing here. So you can buy an Atari ST disk drive, which are very prone to failure. You can put in a Gotek into one of these disk drives, but they have this very proprietary floppy cable, which is this here, which is almost impossible to get because it has a million pins. There is an alternative, interestingly, which is this little PCB here, and this has just the pins and it plugs directly into your Atari and then gives you standard floppy connector, so you can just attach a PC floppy drive to the Atari. You have to power it from somewhere, like USB from the outside. That's all nice and good. That's actually a drive with a built-in power supply, and it's heavy like 2 bricks. There's this fella here, which is the Micro Ultra or Ultra Satan or Ultra Satan, as we call it in Germany, which is a hard disk replacement, which plugs into the hard disk port. So you have 2 microSD cards here. You can switch between these and you can put hard disk images on here, which is nice. And then there is the side cartridge, which is relatively inexpensive, and let me show you what you can do with this. So this is the website of the side cartridge. If I'm not completely mistaken, this is not open source. So if you want one, you have to buy it from here, which is what I did. If you go here, you can see this works with a Raspberry Pi Pico W. And it says it's a multi-device emulator for the Atari ST, STE and Mega series on Raspberry Pi Pico steroids. Emulate both 64 and 128K ROMs by simply loading the binary files from a microSD card or via a Wi-Fi connection, which is the interesting part and why this needs a Raspberry Pi Pico W, which is the Wi-Fi version. Interact with the cartridge bus in real time for data reading and writing, which allows for seamless emulation of devices such as floppy disks and hard disks, real-time clocks, keyboards, mouse devices and more. Dive into a realm of possibilities, limited only by your creativity, thanks to the open architecture and open source code. So you have a ROM emulator, you have floppy emulation, hard disk emulation. And the nice thing is, and I haven't tried this yet because I have to build it, I have it right here on the desk in parts. You plug this into the cartridge port, which is mostly unused. And I have the 3D printed case here, which is still empty, and that just goes into the side. And then you can use your PC or any remote machine to actually load files onto the ST, like disk images, hard disk images, and ROM files, as far as I understand it right now. But we will see about that. But first we have to build it, so let's go and build it. This video is kindly sponsored by PCBWay. Thank you, PCBWay. So let's see what's in the box or in the bag. We have, and I bought that myself, a Raspberry Pi Pico W, the first one, not the second one. Not sure it works with the second one, but I think it wouldn't. Not sure. We have the board itself, where the Raspberry Pi Pico goes, and some components which are in the bag here. Doesn't look like much. It's not much on here. Just some, I assume, logic or memory. We have a select switch and a reset switch, which you can connect here. You have a select switch here, micro SD card reader, and that plugs into the Atari. You have just a few components like 2 of these, which are soldered on top of here, I think, to plug the Raspberry Pi into. 2 of these for the Pi. We have 2 smaller of these. Not sure where these go. UART and ground here and here. And we have this WSB port, which allows you to power other devices over this cartridge, which is nice. This just plugs in here and you solder it to the board. So there's not much to do here. And some standoffs. We have to flash the Pi Pico, which is pretty easy because you just plug into the USB port. You don't need any programmer or anything, and just drag and drop a file onto it, and that is, or should be, it. We will see about that. Let's get cracking. What I will do when I solder these pin headers in here, I will put the Pi in there just to make sure that it is straight and I don't have to resolder that later. And the Pi goes like this into here because it says USB here, so I assume that is not a joke. That's how the Pi goes in here. I will put my iron on 390°C because it makes soldering these boards much easier. That is that. These are in. Pins still sticking in here, so now we solder the Pi to the pins. Okay, and that's our side cartridge done. That took just a few minutes, which is nice. So now we have to get the software on there, and I have this cable which is trusted and which I know has also the data lines, because you need one with data lines, not just a charging cable for this. And you plug it into the Pi, and while you plug it into your machine, you push this boot select button here, you hold it down and you plug it in, and then you know that this is connected. You can see a green light here on the board, and we need to download the firmware. So here's the step-by-step guide what to do. Grab Atari. Okay, we have one. Good. Check. Acquire a side cartridge board. Did that. Install the latest firmware. Here it is. Latest better firmware. Okay, let's download that. Got it. If I open my Explorer now, we have the RPI RP2 drive here. And we go and we copy over the file from here, SidecarTridge Pico whatever, onto the RPI RP2, and that should eject the Pi in a minute, or the drive which represents the Pi, and it's gone. And that programmed the Pi. So that is that, Pi programmed. So PCBWay is doing a big Christmas sale, and you can save up to 50% between December 12th and December 31st. And there are coupons here, so if you are in need of some PCBs, 3D prints or some CNC machining, then this is for you. So visit PCBWay.com and grab your Christmas savings. And there are even some special offers on specific things like CNC machining and 3D printing and sheet metal work. I was always thinking about creating a new case for something in metal, so that might be something I will look into. And they now also offer injection molding, which can be pretty expensive anywhere else. Haven't used this yet, but if you're thinking in volume and you want to do some cases or stuff like that, that might also be an option. So next we have to prepare the microSD card for the side cartridge. And for that I have this adapter, and I put that into my machine. We'll switch over to the desktop. And in here we have this USB drive. If I check this, yeah, that's my 32 gig USB drive or SD card. And you can see it's FAT32 and it needs to be FAT16 or exFAT. So if you want to use the full 32 gigs, you can just go and format this. You just say exFAT here. We call this SidecarTridge fast forward. And here we go. Now we go and we create 3 folders here. The first one is HD, which is the hard drive folder. I will get back to that later. Second one is floppies, which will contain the floppies. And the third one is ROMs, which will contain ROM files. We will leave these empty for now, and we will just take the card, put it into the sidecard, and see what happens. Boot it for the first time. Let's put the SD card, which I just created, in here. So I am filming this a second time because the first time the audio was totally messed up. It was just not happy. That's why I have this case here, and you will see this case later on. Just plug it in here, and we will switch this on. Let's see. Ah, yeah. So what's happening now is we will go into Jam. There we are. If you open this folder here, you get a sidecard.tos, and if you start this, that is a configurator. And you can already see that I have Wi-Fi connected, and I have an IP address, and I have all the folders. And yeah, that's because this was working before. I will get you through the complete configuration, which is not much because you just press W. And if you want to restart or reconfigure this, you just press R. And that's what you get if you start it the first time. So you select your Wi-Fi. Mine is called ArschClown. And then you have to put in the password and press enter. Then you can see that it is has this SSID, and now it has an IP switched over. That says we are connected. And now we can go, and that is the cool part about this SidecarTridge. We can just go and we can grab games and ROMs online. And to do this, you just go to download from the floppy image database, which is 5. And then you get a list of all kinds of games. So you can see this is from A to 9 and 158 pages of games. You can just browse through these, and if you want to play one, you just go and you select it. And we select, let's take Alien Syndrome. You can see it's loading. It says loading floppy, please wait. Never takes 60 seconds. It's just a timer that is there. And it will tell you when it's done. And this is downloading the game from the database. Here we are. And you can see floppy A is now A_029ST. And if you say S for start emulation, and then press a button or a key, we are now in floppy emulation mode. Now the emulator is ready. You can now press space to boot. And it boots. And here we are. Oh, it's even 4 games. Alien Syndrome, Space Station, Barbarian, and Fuzzball. Interesting. Let's go with Alien Syndrome. Yeah, nice. Why is there a disc 2? Ah, it just works. Okay, good enough for me. So can I somehow start this? F1, one player, let's F10, start the game. Let's see if it works. No, it does not. We need a joystick. Great. Yeah, so that works. It just loads. And if we power cycle the machine, let's do that. What happens is the game should still be there. Yeah, and it is. So it's trying to start the floppy emulation again, and will load the same disk. And what you can do is you can press, and I have that here, this is my reset button and this is my select button, and you press the select button for 1 second and then you power cycle the machine. And you can see now we are back in the emulation or jam mode where we have this folder. And then you can go to sidecard.tos again. And you're back in your configurator. And you can set all kinds of stuff here. We have a real-time clock on 6. And what else do we have? We can, of course, emulate floppies from the SD card if they are there. If you, by the way, if you download these floppies like Alien Syndrome from the database, they will land on your SD card. If I press 3 now, you can see if I press Shift A to eject and then A to select the floppy, you can see there's a disk I just downloaded. But you can also go and you can download ROM images, which is also interesting. So let's press 2 and we get a list of ROM images. And by the way, you can host your own server with your own games and stuff if you want to do that. It's just an HTTP server, and there's instructions on the SidecarTridge website for that. And we have, for example, Rick Dangerous here. Let's do Rick Dangerous. And it says downloading ROM. Wait until the LEDs blink. Yeah, and now we can reset. And it says we go for normal play. And there we are. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, you just plug this in and you have all the games in the world for the Atari ST and diagnostic cartridges and stuff at your fingertips, provided that you have a Wi-Fi connection. Yeah, so let me do my trick here. So while I was looking for the hard drive stuff, I also assembled the case, and I did put 2 buttons in here. This is reset and this is the switch button. There's a switch button here and there's a 3D printed part here, but it just doesn't fit, and I think it's nicer to have it on top. And this goes in like this, and then you have your buttons right here. The hard disk stuff is much easier than I thought it would be, and that is one major thing about the case. You don't have access to the Pi Pico because, well, it's inside the case. And you can't just connect it by USB, so I will use my SD card here, put it in the PC. And what you can do is, on this SD card we created a folder called HD. And you don't have to use, or you can't use actually, you don't have to and you can't use HDF files or stuff like that. You just copy your programs into this HD folder. That is pretty nifty. So let's try that. I have a few programs on my hard disk. Yeah, on my PC hard disk. So I have 2 programs here, sysinfo and fcopy. Let's just put this here. Now we go over to the ST again, take the card, put it back into the side cartridge, plug that in, and if all goes to plan, we should be able to mount this hard disk. So now we are still in our C drive, which is the disk drive hard file, by the way, not our hard file, but a hard file. What we can do now is emulate hard disk, which is experimental, and you can tell it which drive it should be, which is C. We use the disk buffer memory type, which is the amount of memory that is reserved to actually load and save files and stuff like that. And then you press start emulation, and that should, after a reset, bring up our hard drive on the desktop. think. It's doing stuff. Ah, and there we are. And our hard drive should be here. Yeah, and there are our programs. Nice, so that works. That's cool. And we also have floppy emulation. That is because some programs that use a hard disk need a floppy drive to be present to work. So we have our configurator here. And we can just go and start a program, I think. Let's try sysinfo, which will say that we need, wrong resolution, of course. So let's switch this to medium. Oh, that looks really ugly. Yeah, and there we are. So that works too. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so for $35 or euros, this is the ultimate, for me, the ultimate Atari ST extension. You just need an Atari ST. You can have a working floppy drive, but doesn't have to. You have access to all the software in the world. All you need is this little device, plus an internet connection, and you have all the software in the world for the Atari ST, including hard disk emulation and all the things you can think of. Yeah, I like it a lot. You can get this pre-assembled. You don't have to assemble it yourself like I did. All you need is an SD card and off you go. As you saw, configuration is pretty easy and you have to get used to the buttons, and it's a bit flaky right now, but I think they will improve this in newer firmware versions, the button handling and stuff. Yeah, but it does what it's supposed to do, and that's what counts, and it's a very reasonable price. So yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. And this thing can do much more than I showed today, but yeah, that's it for this video. So thank you for watching, and until next time, cheerio. Thanks again to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. If you need any PCBs, pre-assembled PCBs or 3D printing, please use the link in the description below.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.